This is the brand new Fujifilm X-E4, and it might just give the X100V a run for its money. If you're new here, my name's Faizal and I'm a photographer based on the East Coast, and I make YouTube videos centered around street photography. We touch on film photography as well and do gear reviews such as this one. So if you're interested in hanging around a little bit longer, consider subscribing to the channel. Within the Fujifilm community, the X-E3, the predecessor to the X-E4, was always considered one of the more underappreciated X-series cameras in the Fujifilm X-series lineup. The X100 series and the X Pro series always got the most love, I think, and actually the X-E3 was always considered a great alternative camera for the X100F. With the X100V coming out last year, the X-E4 looks to reclaim that role as a great alternative compact street camera. Now, I'm personally probably going to compare the X-E4 to the X100V a lot in this video just because the X100V is my only Fujifilm camera and I have a ton of experience with it. But I don't want this to become a which camera is better type of video because that all really comes down to your specific needs. And so I can't really answer that question for you, but is the X-E4 good for street photography? That's kind of what I want to touch on in this video and talk about my first impressions after shooting with it for a little bit and whether or not this holds up as a compact street photography camera. I'm out here in Cambridge, Mass, freezing, and I have the X-E4 with me. It's really cold. I have like 10 hand warmers in my pocket right now and in my shoes. Before we get into shooting, let's talk about some of the updates and main features of the X-E4. At a glance, the X-E4 looks a lot like an X100V, but with the ability to change lenses. Or maybe a better analogy would be if the X Pro 3 and X100V had a child and named it E4. The body alone starts at $799 and gets all of the new updated and latest gen tech when it comes to processor and the sensor. When it comes to autofocus, the X-E4 has the same exact system that is seen in the X-T4 and X Pro 3. The camera body weighs just 365 grams. There isn't any weather sealing or image stabilization, but it does shoot video at 4K up to 30 FPS and 1080p up to 240 FPS. Alright, I'm gonna shoot around this cool funky building right behind me, kind of see what I can make out of it. Oh yeah, this is a reflection dream right now. Yeah, the light bouncing off of this building onto the brick is just, it is insane right now. Actually, this is a great opportunity to use the tilt screen. You know, one thing I'm noticing myself do is I'm so used to holding the X100V and there's usually a rear dial on the back side. So I'm always like thinking there's a rear dial there to change my shutter speed. I guess it kind of goes to show how similar this camera feels. I'm gonna put some gloves on for once. I can't feel my fingers.
I'm just having too much fun in this area. I could shoot here like all day. There goes the light.
Alright, I hope you enjoyed that little shooting segment and the photos that came out of it. But I do have to say, this is one sleek looking camera. This silver lens on the black body is starting to grow on me. The X-E4 already feels very premium when it comes to build quality, but I don't know, something about the silver lens on the black body feels a lot more fancy, I guess. Let me know what you think about that combination. I mentioned earlier that this camera has the same exact CMOS trans 4 sensor and processor as the X100V, so you're going to get the same processing power as the more expensive X series cameras. Obviously, image quality isn't just determined by the internal specs, but also the lens you're using. But with the ability to change lenses on this camera, you have plenty of options to choose from. Regarding autofocus, I rarely had any issues when it came to, focus hunting. This too also is determined by the lens you use and how well it performs for autofocus. But I think considering the fact that I didn't run into any focus issues, I think that's a good sign. According to Fujifilm, the X-E4 has the same focus system as the X Pro 3 and X-T4. So you're gonna get 425 autofocus points, and all of that covers 100% of the frame. Holding this camera in my hands at many times felt like I was holding my X100V. As you saw me do earlier, I frequently thought that there was a rear dial on the back, since I'm so used to that being there on my X100V. So yeah, it feels a lot like an X100 series camera when you're holding this in your hand. The X-E4 only has 3 customizable buttons, the Q button being one of them, but you do have the back LCD screen, which is a touchscreen, so you do get those 4 custom gestures. The lack of custom buttons isn't much of a big problem for me, mostly because they did include the one custom button I use the most on my X100V, and that's the one right next to the shutter. I have this programmed to my photometry settings because I like to switch in and out of spot metering and multimetering. With the Q button here, you still are one click away from accessing a bunch more quick menu settings. When it comes to grip, there isn't any on this camera. That's actually a design change coming from the X-E3, which had a built-in front grip. Aesthetically, it makes the camera look a lot sleeker without any grip in the front. And this camera is so small that it's really hard to not be able to hold onto it when it's this light and compact. So I don't think built-in grip is much of a necessity for a camera this small, but that might also come down to how big your hand is. Fujifilm does offer a hot shoe thumb grip, as well as a attachable front grip, which is very deep. So if you do need more grip options, there are there for you. Overall, this camera is very compact, and the lens I have attached on here doesn't do it justice because it is pretty big for a camera body like this. Fujifilm does have a 27mm, which is their most compact and slimmest lens. So pair that with this camera and you have probably the most compact Fujifilm camera out there, which is insane because I thought that was my X100V. But if you compare the two, in terms of body size, this X-E4 is smaller than my X100V. By the way, let me know if you want to see that 27mm on the channel. I'll see if I can get my hands on one of those. A quick note about the viewfinder on this camera. There's no optical viewfinder, as you can tell, but that's no different than the previous X-E versions. So you do get a electronic viewfinder in the sort of rangefinder style. The EVF is listed at 2.36 million dots. So you won't be getting the greatest EVF quality out there, but by no means does that make or break this camera. So probably the biggest addition to the X-E4 is this tilt screen. The X-E3 didn't have any tilt screen. It was a fixed LCD screen. And unlike the X100V, this tilt screen can come out 180 degrees vertically. I don't know how durable this is when it's out like this. It's a little sketchy, I'm not gonna lie. But you know, if you have it only halfway out, like a waist level finder, it feels a lot safer. I know a lot of people wanted to see on the X Pro 3 a proper tilt screen. You know, I think this might be the closest Fujifilm camera right now to an X Pro 3 with an actual tilt screen. Okay, so who is this camera for? I think by now you probably have a good sense of what this camera is capable of and whether or not it fits your needs. But I see this as a great versatile compact camera for both beginners and experienced photographers. The technical specs when it comes to sensor, processing power, and autofocus are all on a pro level. So you're getting pro power with more of an intermediate priced camera. $799 for just the body, and then a $400 Fujifilm lens. You're still going to be paying less than an X100V or an X Pro 3. Get a good deal on a used Fujifilm lens, and you could find yourself paying just under $1,000 US for a great compact camera for street photography. A beginner can pick up this camera and have little to no issues shooting it for the first time, because there's really no learning curve when it comes to shooting with this camera. And if you're an experienced photographer used to X series cameras, you're gonna feel right at home when you hold this camera. I mean, I literally felt like I was holding an X100V. So if you're looking for a more reliable camera as a backup camera, or if you're looking for a more compact camera that's great for street photography and carrying with you everywhere you go, the X-E4 might be just for you. So overall, I think the X-E4 is just a great option for anyone looking to get into street photography or need that everyday camera, no matter the level of experience you have. While I still love my X100V and everything it offers, this is a camera that I want to shoot with more on the channel. So let me know in the comments if there's anything you specifically want to know about the X-E4. With that said, I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll have a link to the X-E4 in the description. Yeah, that's all for me. I'll see you all in the next one.